Why'd you click on the video, huh? Is it because the thumbnail told you not to? Are you trying to be a rebel? Or did you come here looking for that secret sauce that's going to enhance your Yoru gameplay? I'm your host, Basic, and this is my Yoru guide. We'll be going over everything you need to know to unlock this agent's full potential, including lots of Yoru's tech, tips, and lineups. So by the end of the video, you'll have a better understanding of this agent, and be a lot closer to clutching up rounds with intense Yoru mind games. But before I go giving away all of Yoru's secrets, if you learn anything new or enjoy the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. I'm a small channel, so all your support really goes a long way. Alright, without further ado, let's dive into the Yoru guide and see what really makes this agent tick. We'll start out this guide by talking about Yoru's most dynamic ability, Gate Crash. Good use of this ability is what really sets apart good Yorus from the rest. There are many great ways to use this ability, from crossing space safely, to going on aggressive flanks and even using it to fake out your enemies. But it's also super important to remember to be careful while using this ability. You don't want to teleport straight to your death. I'm sure that everyone knows if you're trying to gate crash aggressively, it can be a good idea to flash yourself in as well. But at first, it can seem hard to time this properly without getting blinded by your own flash. But no worries, there's actually a trick to timing this perfectly so that you'll never be caught by your own flashes again. You'll simply wait on your flash to ricochet off a surface. Once it bounces, go ahead and teleport in, and it won't even matter if you're facing the flash, you'll never be blinded. It's also super important to know this timing, as you can use it to make enemies look at your flashes. Just throw your blind on top of your gate crash, and once they turn to see if you went there, they'll end up blind. That brings me to my favorite use of gate crash, which is using it to fake out your enemies. Whenever they look at your fake teleport, you just go ahead and swing out and give their ass a blasting. Another great thing about gate crash is that it allows you to play both sites simultaneously. Since Chamber's nerf, Yoru is the only agent capable of utilizing this playstyle. It's important to be flexible when using gate crash, always mixing up your options so that your enemies don't know what you're going to do. Before we move on from gate crash, I'm going to go ahead and give you my favorite lineups for the current competitive map pool. We'll start out with Long on Bind. You'll make your way into this corner and then use the right side of the shadow as shown. This teleport travels all the way to their spawn and is super great for aggressive flanks. For the next one, you'll line yourself up with this wire outside of showers. Then aim for the top right of this gray tile. This is a great teleport lineup for aggressively flanking A. Alright, moving on to Pearl, you'll once again line yourself up with this wire outside of A. You'll be aiming at the corner of the wall here. This teleport quickly makes its way all the way into their spawn. As for B, you'll walk into this line and aim for this dot in between these two dots here. This lineup doesn't quite make it to spawn, but it's still great if you're trying to aggressively flank on B. I really only have one good lineup for Fracture, and it's to push up into heaven from B long. It's not super specific, but just aim for the right corner of the poster here. This is really great for aggressively taking sight when no one's playing heaven. Now for Lotus, you'll be pushing yourself up against the spawn barrier and aiming for the corner of the wall here. This TP travels all the way to halls, and can be really useful for pinching enemies during an execute. For a TP on A, you'll come to this corner of rubble. Aim for the middle of this brick here and throw your TP. This teleport travels all the way through stairs, making its way into their spawn. Heading over to Split, you'll stand in this corner outside of B main. Aim for the left corner of this stack of pallets. This gate crash travels all the way to backside and is another great one for pinching enemies during an execute. Over on A, you'll get into this corner here. Now aim for the bottom right corner of this square. Go ahead and send out that gate crash and then hop up on the plant. Pull out your flash and aim it for the corner of this triangle. This is a great lineup for getting really aggressive with people playing on ramps. Moving over to Haven, you'll come into this corner of C long. You'll be aiming for the corner of the wall here. This gate crash can travel all the way to their spawn, making for some fast flanks. For A long, you'll be lining up against this board here. Then you're going to want to be aiming for the corner of this shadow. Once released, this teleport will travel all the way to their spawn, so no matter what site you're on, they'll always have to worry about you flanking with gate crash. Finally, for Ascent, you'll come into this corner of the box here. Now aim for the bottom left of this square on the roof. This gate crash will actually go all the way into the attacker's spawn pretty quickly. On defense, there's actually a really great Yoru TP if you get into this corner here. Just aim for the right corner of the X. This gate crash will travel all the way through mid, making its way into the defender's spawn. Now onto Yoru's flash, Blindside. Often considered the weakest flash in the game, as it needs to bounce before being activated and can usually be pretty easy to dodge. Although with the right lineups, this flash can easily turn into your enemy's worst nightmare. Here are all my best flashes for the current map pool. We'll start out with Bind. To flash people going A main, you'll hug this wall. Then aim for the inner corner of the vent and give the flash a toss. This will hide most of the flash's travel. To flash anyone pushing showers, you're going to aim through the roof at this wall here next to the vent. This comes from a pretty unpredictable spot and can be really hard to react to. To flash people going B long, you'll aim for the vent here. This will blind anybody pushing the main stretch. Moving over to Pearl, we'll walk into this line on the cubby long. Now aim for the inner corner of the rectangle here. This flash is effectively a one-way, blinding anybody pushing long. Another great lineup for the rework on Pearl is done by crouching on this box here and then bouncing the flash off the floor. This flash will fly over the screen, blinding anyone as you peek. Now on to Fracture, this is a great flash for anybody pushing B long. Aim for the corner of the roof here and anybody pushing the main hallway should be blinded. Next up is a great one-way flash for aggressively pushing people B main. Just bounce the flash off of this panel and you should be good to peek. I really only have one truly broken flash for Lotus. It's done by aiming for the middle of this pillar here and actually flies behind the leaf, making it an insane one-way. Anybody pushing even the far back side of Mound will be blinded by this one. Alright, I have a couple of really great flashes on Split for you. The first one is done by aiming for this vent behind the sign here and will flash anyone pushing Garage. The next one is a flash for mid, and it's not super precise just as long as you're aiming for the top left corner of this sheet. This is one of those flashes that comes from a super unpredictable angle and can be really hard to dodge. Over on Haven, we have a really great flash for anybody pushing A long. Aim for the wall right behind the pot and anybody in the main hallway should be blinded. Alternatively, over on C long, you'll be aiming for this black smudge on the floor here. You have to turn away, but this is a great pop flash hiding most of the travel time. Finally, over on Ascent, you'll walk into the middle of the wall here. You'll be aiming for this gap in the vines. This will hide most of the flash's travel time, is a one-way, and comes from an unexpected angle. Next up, for people pushing B main, you'll simply throw a flash into this window. You can follow this up by throwing a flash behind this box. Both are a one-way and allow you to be super aggressive. Now let's move into talking about what's possibly Yoru's most underrated ability, the Decoy. Most people tend to think that Yoru's Decoy is completely useless, but it has some hidden talents that you may not know about. First off, did you know that the flash that Yoru's Decoy produces is actually the longest lasting flash in the game at 3.5 seconds? Also, did you know that Yoru's Decoy can be used to boost your gate crash on top of boxes? This will allow you to play some crazy angles that enemies might not expect you to be in, and can be super useful on a large number of maps in Valorant. Everyone's seen the plays where you pretend to be a Yoru clone, and oddly enough, this seems to work more and more as you climb the ranks. It's a really good feeling to be using their own game sense against them. Playing against your enemy's expectations is kinda Yoru's whole game, so you definitely don't want to be sleeping on his Decoy. Finally, let's go over Yoru's ultimate, Dimensional Drift. This ult's great for gathering intel for your team or retrieving a bomb that's been dropped in a bad location. It also combos together really well with other ults like Sova, Raze, and Fade. Alternatively, it can be really great for isolating enemies, or punishing enemies who are reloading or holding utility. You can also use all your utility while ulting, so you can leave a gate crash on the ground before ulting for somewhere safe to return to. Or go around a corner and throw out your Decoy before exiting the ult. Most enemies will instinctively shoot it thinking it's you. Well, that's all I've got for today's guide. This is my longest video to date, so if you made it all the way to the end, this is a big thanks from me. And I'll see you again next time.